at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Yeah, welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern. I don't know why I'm saying we, because it's just the three of us, I think. But we'll see if anybody shows up. There's alerts that go out when the show goes live, and we'll see if anybody shows up. Nobody responded to the email. Nobody joined in, so probably be a short slow show. It is December 4th, so we missed a couple of things yesterday on the calendar. The Supreme Court case, Prince versus the United States, was yesterday. And that's a neat one since Prince is, oh, no, I'm thinking of a different one. But missed that on the calendar. There isn't anything coming up until Pearl Harbor, of course, on the 7th. This year, that'll be Saturday. And we won't be doing a show, so we'll talk about that, I suppose, coming closer to that. Been a couple other shows earlier today. I guess those were so fun that people all went to bed. So I'll see if anybody shows up with the alerts. And if you're watching live, then the only way we know you're out there is if you say something. The YouTube platform will tell us that there's people watching, but you only know who they are if they say something. Otherwise, I'm not interested in just going live for the hell of it. I like to talk about 2A history. I like to talk about 2A issues and I guess guns a little bit, but nobody's joining in, so I'm not going to just speak for no reason. And we'll give it a minute or two here. It's frustrating too, because I like doing this. How are you running this? Hangouts? No, I run it on a thing called Duck StreamYard. And I'll only be doing that until I can get my XSplit working. So today I spent a lot of the time, most of the time today so far, working on software and stuff. And figuring out how to work some things to do some stuff from videos. One of the things I'll be working on is XSplit. And it's one of those things I could work on while I was in a chat for sure, but I'm not just going to work on it and have dead air. So nobody wants to just listen to dead air. You would join my chat by me knowing who you are. Now, if you just want to join a chat in general, Matt has chats on Never Enough Ammo's channel, and he'll just let anybody in. Unless I know who you are or something, then you can head over to Gun Channels, and I throw a link out there to you. But it's very similar to Hangouts. If you ever used Hangouts, technically at least, it's so if you're using XSplit and OBS, this is a little different. The Duck is a online cloud-based version that takes care of the Hangout piece as well as the streaming piece. So it's sort of like Hangouts through YouTube, when that was still a thing, but that hasn't been a thing since September. So I have XSplit. One of the reasons I got this new computer is so that I could use XSplit. So I barely installed it, and then I installed it, and that's about it. I haven't tried to do anything with it yet. This show is predominantly what I use streaming for, but then I was trying to get you to come to Taos, New Mexico. Right on. I don't know if I've ever been there. I've been to Santa Fe and then north of there a little bit, but it was in a different direction than Taos, I think. But yeah, I would come up that way. Anyway, if you want a link over Gun Channels, I can drop you a link. Otherwise, the only other way if you were to drop an email, and it's dumb. I don't know how long the show will go tonight. But Matt does a show where he brings people in all the time. There used to be shows on Gun Channels where people would just open up rooms and invite people in. We don't have hosts for that anymore, so no one's been doing that. So I've been said a couple of years ago. So I started going out on tours in a long time ago. In 2016, I guess, 12 really, but 16, 17, I started going out on a more regular basis with Bob from Canada. Then did go up to Albuquerque. So that if you're talking about a couple of years ago, that could have been when you're talking about. But since I live in Tucson, and Albuquerque is pretty much between me and everything east of here, unless I go south down to El Paso, then I go to Albuquerque before I go anywhere else. So most of my trips I've gone through Albuquerque, but yeah, I definitely try to visit gun shops along the way. Then let's see. See if anybody's replying to my email. Every once in a while, I do send out the wrong link or something. So if somebody sends something back, it says, "Hey," but no, I sent out the right link. And just too late for people, I guess. So we'll continue to run for a bit here, and then I'll shut it down. We've been going for 6 minutes. If people were going to jump in, they would, and if audience was going to jump in, they would. So 7 of you jumped in. Like I say, I'm not really interested in just blabbing. This is weird for me. So I'm not interested in this. I will wrap it up here. And I guess we'll just look forward to another show later on. Like I said, it's a little frustrating. I have ideas for these shows, but I'm not good at just chatting here. This isn't working. So it'll either turn into a produced show and I'll do something else, or, people will start joining in or something, but we'll see what happens here. It would be nice if you could at least run other people's videos or something. Yes, I could. Yep. So now it's dead air. So it's pretty boring. Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, I can talk about shops in Albuquerque here for a second, I guess. So I just got back from another trip out to Washington and checked out 14 gun shops. Stopped at BMC on my way out to DC. And we traded patches, and I got up to date with their series of cartoon characters with guns. Series of patches like that. We chatted for a bit, talked about cop cars, and then on the way back, I went past Colorado and then down through Albuquerque again. And that time I was coming into town about 5:36, and although I could have probably stopped at a couple of gun shops, whenever you're on the end of a 20-day trip and home is a couple of, from Albuquerque, 8 hours away, 10 hours away, 8 hours. I wasn't really thinking so much gun shops, but I did go to this one surplus store in Albuquerque. If you're in Taos, you might know about it, but it's not the Kaufman's or whatever. It's more of a surplus store. So it's got a bunch of telephone parts, and definitely has Army surplus, but it also has industrial surplus. So I forget what the name of it is, but it's a smaller place. It's like a barn or something. And anyway, so I stopped there and looked around, and they were really, really rude the last time I was there, and the place was super messy, and you could tell it'd been there forever. And really, really liked that shop. It was unfortunate that the guy was such a jerk. I was there with Bob, but so it was a while ago. But I stopped by there because I hadn't been there in a while, and it was open. And I thought I could get to there and another surplus store, that Kaufman's or whatever it's called, because I've been to Kaufman's twice already. But there was no way I was going to. It was only 4 miles away, and it was going to take me 20 minutes to get there. And I got into town just as they were both closing. So if I would have been able to get back and forth between them, I would have gone to both, but I couldn't. Anyway, so that's I didn't really get to any shops in Albuquerque this time. But I mean, gun shops. I got to that surplus store. And then what did I do next door? I went someplace next door? Or am I crazy? No, that was the first time we were there. What do I think about PSA triggers, optics, and whatever? I don't have any experience of that at all. I've picked up the Century guns, but I never even looked at a PSA gun. I don't know anything about them. Also, Holosun. I know the people from Holosun, and I'll never buy a Holosun. So I guess I'm in that boat. I like to take an AK for sure. Oh, you guys are talking about match chat. So it looks like a bunch of people showed up. We've been going for 10 minutes. However, nobody's showing up to be in here with me. And like I say, I'm not really. This is weird for me. I don't like this. So I guess we'll end it. I'll continue to work on I've been working on it. It's just a way to tell until it actually happens. But I'm going to continue to work on the infrastructure for a show that is doable, and then this will be the after chat, and either people start showing up or they won't, and I'll quit doing this chat. But until then, I am awake at night, and I know other people are, so we'll continue to put the word out there, and we'll see if we can find some people that are awake at night to start a conversation about guns the rest of the time. You know, these people, I don't even know. Most people are going to work from 9 to 5, so we're supposed to just talk guns from like 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. or something. Brov. The people from Hollow Sun did not impress me in their business. What's the word? Their reason for being in business, their business objectives did not impress me. Vandalistica's listening at work, so let's see. It is 10 o'clock here. How do I even know? Is there even a way to know what time it is over there? Is it 6 o'clock there? That's only 4 hours difference. That's not bad. Well, let me see if I change this, if it's different. Is it? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, it's because of the day flips over. So is it 4 o'clock there? Yeah, I think we're in the same thing right now. We're in, I guess, 11 a.m. 3:19. Oh, I guess it depends on what part of it you're in. So that's the GMT. Oh, no, that's the, just pick something here. So it makes no sense. How come this one says, one of them says it's 5:18, one of them says it's 1:18, and one of them says it's 12:18, and then this one says it's 3:48? So how come one of the places, Adelaide, someplace has a different, why are they off by half an hour? Local time and Adelaide time off. Is there a 30-minute time zone? Green and yellow areas have offsets of 30 minutes. Why? Naturally, India decided to be 30 minutes between the two time zones, which is why the country is only 30 minutes ahead of Pakistan. Ironically, India is only 2.5 hours behind China. Doesn't make any sense. So I wonder why some of them are half an hour. Why are some countries 30 minutes off? Here we go. I have to understand where the time zones came from. The sun was at its highest point in a particular city. It was called local mean time, for it was 12 o'clock in New York. It was 12:23 in Boston. Oh, I see. Blah, blah, blah. So, blah, blah, blah. Delegates from 27 countries, blah, 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 decided, blah, blah, blah. So, why are some cities 30 or 45 minutes off? Lose to do politics, for example, in New Delhi, they found themselves halfway between and decided to be 30 minutes between, as adopted one or the other. Okay, so it's just a political thing. And there's Pink. Hey, Pink, were you there that year? Am I thinking of the right place? Is Hollow Sun that one we went out in the desert with that year?
Yes.
Yeah. What is your opinion of Hollow Sun then?
Well, I know that's my go-to red dot and everything. I know this year at SHOT Show I'll be writing down a bunch of models and everything because I mean, I would already have it right now, but I can't remember which models I was going to put on my 308. There's a setup that they have with their magnifier that I want to get for it. I just can't remember which models that I was wanting.
So for me, I don't like optics in the first place. I think they're just expensive. Most of them are made poorly, and the concept of them is okay, but not necessary. We've lived a long time without it. Um, so I'm never going to be just won over to optics. I'm not looking for an optic. Nobody's going to suck up to me and make me like their optic. You're going to have to win me over to optics in the first place. So if they were my best friends, I wouldn't be hawking their optics. And Pink's not hawking their optics. I don't think they gave them to you, did they?
Actually, I did walk away from there with one.
Well, okay, but it's not like they supply you with them and you get you say buy them because they're giving you a big paycheck or anything.
Right.
So, I mean, you went to an event where they probably anticipated dozens of people showed up and they had a bunch to give away, and then you got one. So big deal. That's not the same. Like they brought stuff to give away and like 5 people showed up instead of like 30. Right. I don't remember what the number was, but it was not as many as they anticipated. But anyway, all I'm saying is they'd have to. There's no way I'm just going to sell optics. I just don't care. I don't like optics, and like I say, they'd have to make me change my mind before I'd endorse one anyway. And then after meeting them, I just don't like them. They're made in China, and they're not. And they're Johnny come latelys or they're come alongs. I don't care how well they're made. They didn't invent nothing. Somebody else did all the tech and research in the United States, and then they came along and duplicated all the easy stuff. Once you know what works, make it, and then compete with the people that created the whole thing and cause confusion and whatever. And I'm not a big fan of optics in the first place, but their particular ones didn't impress me at all. And then they personally didn't impress me. And I don't think they were trying to at all, but I don't know. I just wasn't impressed. Like I said, I'm not complaining. I don't think they break or anything. I think I hear tons of people that like them. I don't think there's any inherent problems. I just personally wouldn't buy any optic. And if I was, I would buy something made in the USA, like basically Trijicon or maybe Aimpoint, even though it's not made in the USA. At least they do enough work with our people that they're inventing stuff and supporting our people, our groups and cops and hunters and people.
I think they were the first ones to come out with the solar RMR for pistols.
Holosun?
Yeah.
So when I'm saying they don't invent nothing, I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't pay attention to anything. I literally I would want people to shoot iron sights, and then when you get old or something happens, then look at an optic and start from the top down, figure out what always works, and buy whatever version of that you can afford. And then like on BB guns or something, or if like on your 5th gun you need an optic and it don't matter, then that's what all these other ones are for. But I think that what do these things cost? As much as a gun? $300, $400?
$200-$300.
Pretty much any optic is going to cost you some hundreds of bucks. So that's why I'm against them. I'm just way too cheap. So it's not like I had a chip on my shoulder for Holosun. I just happened to have met the people, I guess. I think I met them, right?
You met one.
That are like the main people, right? Like, I don't think I just met, what do they call it? Like, I've met plenty of people who are manufacturers reps, and I never consider that meeting the people. Like, if I met the people that invented the product or like own the company, that's when I say like I've met them, right? So I think I met the people who are Holosun, right?
Right.
Yeah, and they're just regular people. They're not like science nerds. They're not shooters. They've never done anything competitive or military or police or hunting. They're just shooters, and it's fine. It's just that, I mean, like if somebody's going to come to me as an authoritarian expert on something, I expect them to have a pedigree or what's the word for, again, you're going to get a job. You write up a piece of paper.
A repertoire?
Resume. So you expect them to have a resume, yeah. And then repertoire, yeah, like understand the stuff. I think they understood it, but they understood it because it's their products. They don't understand why somebody would want to use an optic but they understand how an optic is and that what theirs does, and it accomplishes all the technical objectives of one. It creates a red dot. It's accurate. It's fairly rugged. It's inexpensive and able. Like, who cares if you can accomplish all those things on paper and you can't make them in people's hands? I mean, people own Holosuns. They're not a fictitious theoretical brand or nothing. But they said they're also ahead of the curve on motion auto on. See, optics that are made out of LEDs and real tech they last for 10 years. They don't ever turn off. So I don't care if somebody comes up with a way to make their fake work better, because it's not real. Go get by the real. But yeah, I mean, again, you could say any name in there except for maybe Aimpoint and Trijicon, and I would probably rag on the company because they don't do anything. So even if you ask me about flashlights manufacturers, I believe in paying for R&D, and I think that R&D in actual, the people that brought us LEDs, the people that created the first lights that brought us from, what are those things called? Streamlight? No, what were those things called? The big ass D-cell mini mag lights.
Maglite, yeah.
For a long time in the 80s, we thought we were done. We thought we had mag lights because, we had, I mean, come on. What the flashlights we had before mag light?
Yeah, 15-pound Maglite. That was.
We thought we were in the future. Like, before mag lights, it was garbage. It was just ridiculous, fake, like, junk. It was all just Ace Hardware, True Value garbage, right? And then Maglite comes along, and we're like, wow, aluminum flashlights? Holy moly. And they are strong, and you can smack they're strong, like, they're decent, they're gonna last, they're made out of aluminum, they can get all dented. That was like the future right there. And then LEDs come along in plastic, and at first I can remember the first ones were like, oh, these are a joke. And then you get Surefire, and they turned it into what we have today. So then anybody can come along and take an existing thing and take it apart, take it to China, figure out how to make it a bit cheaper. And then I don't care if they just do that and they acknowledge that they're just ripping off the real. But when the ripoff comes along and tries to suggest that they've somehow should exist, like, oh no, we're better because of this, or we innovated that or this, like, now you're starting to go beyond just like filling a gap for people's third and fourth gun. Now you're telling people in your marketing that you're just as good as. That's when I got a problem. When a fake tries to come along and say that there's no difference between a fake and a real. Like, no, there's definitely a difference between a fake and a real. And if people's lives are on the line, you don't want to figure that difference out as you die, right? You want to figure that difference out in real life ahead of time.
Yep.
But so I'm just a old crotchety half foot, I guess, because I don't follow trends, and I've seen way too many things come and go, and I'm not a fan of these dots on pistols either. I mean, I'm just not. It's not that I'm against change. I just don't like gimmicks just for the sake of gimmicks. And when something doesn't work, and you see a company get frustrated over the years, and then all of a sudden they come out with some gimmick, then I don't feel like the gimmick was the thing that saved the company. I just think the gimmick is the thing that somehow caught marketing and maybe kept them alive. But I'm just bitching about anything. Let's see. So the full-size ones were banned. You mean the full-size flashlights were banned as a potential weapon? I guess I could see that.
Yeah, like I said, my Maglite was like 15 pounds. It was.
Let's see.
That and 2 pound or
2 years,
like 2 feet long. I remember it took like
they made a 6 or something that was really ridiculously long.
Yeah.
But again, like, depending on what you're doing, if you're sitting up on top of a building or something and you're trying to get, it's on for a long time, or maybe sitting in a guardhouse or somewhere you turn it on all the time, I guess that could be useful. But for smacking things or whatever, they never really made like a strong one. They could have easily made a double wall thickness one for actually smacking. So if you're just talking like actual smacking, I think it's the 4 or 6 that was like the decent, it's decent. It was basically the size of a police baton. You could carry it around, and it wasn't too long, because that really long one was like a sword. It was way too long. It was obnoxious. So Pants is saying his Trigicon RMR has been on for 2 years with the battery that shipped with it. So number one, you should change them every year anyway, just because. But yeah, exactly. Gameplays and
Now the Trigicon RMR that I've got on my FNX, it's the one that is like half solar and half battery.
How's that
or
work?
whatever.
I heard at
It's-
the beginning of that it was the least effective of the battery life somehow.
It's got Trigicon or not Trigicon. It's got the tritium in it, so it kind of lights up partially at night with
Well,
low
but I'm
light.
saying, has it worked for you? It hasn't failed or anything.
Right. But it's got like, I mean, it draws in a lot of the light from.
Here's the thing, though. I really don't care about any of this stuff. So now it's been an entire show of me bitching that nobody was joining, and then me bragging on products. So I'm not interested in doing that. I'm going to stop doing that because I have no interest. I don't care if you buy that crap, and I really don't care which brand you buy. Buy it if you want. Don't buy it if you want. But just ask other people. I just don't have a skin dog in that fight. So I'm also interested in other. I am definitely interested in other things, though. Did you jump in here, Pink? You got anything to chat about, or you just jumping in to save the chat?
No, I just jumped in.
Right on. Appreciate it. I got an email back about something I'll tell you about off air for shot. And then, oh, okay. I see what Pants is saying. He would normally change it, but he's just kind of seeing how long it'll last. I bet you it'll last a long time because they don't use that much power in the first place. Solar power torches. I had a solar powered flashlight for a while. I don't know if it works anymore because it was, again, one of the first gen of LEDs when they first were like novelties. But
I don't know if you remember them. Do you remember they were like shake flashlights? Yeah, they had
I have
the
one of those too.
yeah.
Again, those are kind of first gen LEDs as soon as they figured out what LEDs can do. Now, the shake ones are the best because there's no battery in it, it's just capacitor. So you
Right.
pin or whatever it is, you run that little coil back and forth over a magnet enough times, you charge the capacitor, and then you got light until it discharges. I think I bought that thing Y2K, like 20 years ago kind of thing. And then I think at some point I looked at it because it's hanging in my hallway and I go, I wonder if that thing still works. And I shake the shit out of it and it wouldn't turn on. So that's about it. I put it back on the wall. So I have to, at some point, actually put a camera on and see if it'll actually work anymore. You have them?
I had one or two. I think my mom got them for me for Christmas one year, like 20 years ago.
Then do you think they still work? Have you tried them?
Well, I mean, it worked. It just never was, super bright.
Oh yeah, they never were good. They just would be brighter than dark.
Right.
Like I doubt you could read to mine. You could see like a stop sign if you held it up close to it, but it's really just so you didn't trip over something. It was pretty bad.
Right.
Now, I wonder what would happen if you'd made one of them today, though, because that tech was nice. It was a solid body, and it had that weight thing or whatever that shook around. If you put that on a modern day capacitor / LED setup, I wonder if it would work a lot.
It probably would. It's just the weight and the amount of times you had to shake it is what threw people off.
And if there was some sort of like an indicator that as you shook it, it would indicate that it's getting powered up, that's the other thing. Yeah, you could basically shake that thing all afternoon and then it would be over in like a second. So that means you were over shaking it. At some point, there should have been a thing to say, okay, it's shook enough. This is as much as I can hold. It's only a capacitor in there. It's not a battery. So it's sort of like a ladle with holes in it. You're going to fill that thing up with power, but you can never fill it. It's just always going to run out. So the best you can do is get it as full as possible and then use it for a minute.
Yeah, I think with today's technology, yeah, it'd be a nice little bright flashlight. Plus, they could probably shrink it down to like palm size. Because that's like I said, I mean, it was
Well, but
a
they could.
larger.
I don't know if that would work. You probably need that big of coils and that much of a movement to create the flow of electrons. I mean, if you made it too small, you'd only move 2 or 3 electrons each push. This thing's probably pushing 20 electrons.
Yeah, true.
Or you know what I'm saying? So maybe if you made it really small and put it on like shoes where they're constantly moving, or like in a watch, that might work. Where your arms are constantly moving it,
Right.
not effort. But or like on a wheel of a bike, that would work. Don't you have light up things that
Yeah,
are
but they run
powered
off
by
the battery.
spin? Oh, I thought they were powered off of the spin. But I think I've seen the kind that you put on like the air thing for your tires, where just by going around in a circle, it does sort of a little tiny
Right.
power up thing. I think. And then isn't there some kind of, or is that chemical? I think there's some sort of thing you can throw or shoot. Anyway, so Hans is saying, how about them old military right angle flashlights? I don't know what they use now. The old ones were D-cell batteries and a regular bulb, so they're obsolete. They're only for collection now. They
Yeah,
must use a nicer one now if they still use that form factor.
They had different lenses with them too, didn't they? To where you can change the color.
Yeah, well, you had a red, you had a blue, and then you'd have a diffraction so that it would not have a spot so much. And, for like maybe doing semaphore signaling or something. And then sometimes they'd have a cone. Sometimes they'd have like a frosted white one. But it was in the real ones, you only got a red one and a white one and a clear one, like in the Army one. And then they all worked as shitty. Like they were never good because they were bulbs. But again, in the 80s, we didn't know what an LED was like. That was amazing tech in the future. Like we had no idea what a real LED would do for us. So they were okay. And we'd put the red filters on because it was bright enough to be seen. It just wasn't bright enough to show you anything.
Right.
If it was bright enough to be seen from like across a field, you still had to put that stupid red thing on to make it even worse. But yeah, Pants is saying, I bet they make an LED head for them. Oh, an LED head? Yeah. I was thinking LED headlamps, and I'm sure that's what they've moved to. The right angle is just that you could put that giant battery container without being separated, because in like a mine or in other things I've done, they've had those, the old-fashioned lights. They would put the batteries on your belt, run a cord up to your head or to your hand or whatever, and give you light. But or like the head unit. But I bet you now they give them military headlamps or something. It just seems like way more useful than having a right angle thing on your chest, which, if you wanted to read a map, you had to hold it up to the light. If you wanted to fix something, you had to hold it up to the light. Or you had to bend over all weird to try to point the light at stuff with your chest. It was awkward. And if at the time it was better than a straight flashlight, but I don't know if they make them anymore. Let's see what the military issue flashlight is.
I like what Pants was saying. Pretty much, I mean, they've got LED bulbs to replace the old
the mag lights.
Yeah, because almost like with the cars and everything, the old halogen bulbs and everything else. They just make replacement LED bulbs to go right into them.
Yeah, I can't tell. The current won't tell me. In the Army, I can't tell. There's a bunch of these curvy ones in here, but then there's a whole bunch of regular lights, and more than one claim to be the Army's flashlight. So I don't know what they use. Somebody made that little right angle one in the small. Was it Streamlight or was it Olight or was it Phoenix? It was Phoenix made that thing, a little tiny one in LED with one AAA battery. That thing was kind of almost useful. Vandalist is asking if I keep the any chem lights in the van. I don't. Do you keep chem lights?
No, no, I carry like 2-3 flashlights all the time anyway.
Yeah, I don't have. I have flashlights, but the chem lights I don't. I can't afford to keep buying them, and they don't last long enough. And whenever I was still paying attention to stuff, too many people that don't have, like, people like in the military, you can't listen to everything they say because it's different when you got Uncle Sam buying everything for you. I know a guy who was a crew chief, and he loves chem lights, but every time he needed a chem light, they had like a pack of 100, and he would just grab them, and the one didn't light up. I mean, they almost always did because he had brand new, fresh Army ones, but if one didn't crack and work, he would just grab another one. He never thought about it. And I just don't have that luck. Like, I'll buy them and they don't always work. So I'm not going to carry something around for forever when I do actually need it, crack it, and it don't work. Except for like playing around in the square ranges, I haven't used chem lights since I was a kid. Like, they're neat, but I don't need them. I don't carry them around. I can't afford to buy them. I play around with them sometimes after Halloween. I'll buy them if I'm at a dollar store and they're the extras or whatever, or at a regular store and they're super cheap. I thought about buying one of those things that it like shrouds the chem light except for one little
Is that
hole.
what they're using?
I don't know. I saw stuff that said that's what it is, but I've never actually seen a dude with one. I've never seen one of those in a surplus store, but I've never seen the green ones in a surplus store. I think a flashlight must be the kind of thing you get to keep, and nobody, who the hell's going to give up their flashlight? Like, literally, even if you hated the military, if you hated guns, you're still going to want your flashlight.
How
It's
do I get back-
$60. It seems like something they'd buy. I'm sure Streamlight has cage numbers.
Trying to get back over to that screen. There we go. Trying to get over that screen because they've got it to where it mounts on the side of their head.
Kind of a big noxious thing, but better than nothing, I guess. I've got a Surefire thingy that clamps to the side of my helmet like that, but it's much smaller, and it's got 3 modes, I think, 3 different bulbs, and one is all 3, one is 1, and one's 2 or something, or is it 2 is one color, 2 of them are white, and one of them is red or blue or something.
Yeah, they got red, green, blue, and white.
So on single click, bright, let's say brighter, push and hold,
Yeah.
flat, double click, pull and turn for colors. Interesting. That's interesting. I'm not going to pay no $60 to play with that light though.
Yeah.
And again, I've seen that light before in stores. I've never seen a person own it. I've never seen anybody bragging about it on a board anywhere. I don't think I've ever seen a YouTube video of it.
5.5 hours.
So it's just one 55 lumen light, which is
Yeah.
about what you'd expect. They're not going to give you like a fancy one. And that's old. That's not a new light or nothing. I mean, it might be upgraded, but I've seen that light for years.
Yep.
Now here's the thing. You could go to like surplus. What's it called? The surplus websites that have the government surplus at it. Not that one. How about the actual government surplus one? This one? Oh, okay. Government surplus. There it is. And we've moved to, we have a new website. All right. Yuck. I do not like their new website. So now let's type in flashlight. So I'm just going to go to where the Army sells their stuff. And I got nothing. Oh no, I got a bunch of stuff. Hold on. But it's a bunch of stuff besides flashlights. Unable to return results for flashlight. Oh, do they call it a torch or something though? Oh, Army might not call it a flashlight. All right, so that made me think of like what they call it over there. So I'll ask this question. I've asked it before. See if anybody knows who's out there. Do you know how many trucks are on an army post?
Hmm. Personally, I don't, but
Well, it's a trick question because they call everything vehicles, and the truck is a gold ball at the top of what do you call it? The top of a flagpole,
Mhm.
and they have, let's see, it has a 45 round, it has a match, and it has a razor. The razor, so you can separate the blue stars from the stripes. The match is to burn the parts together, all the flag parts together, and then the 45 round, well, you know what that's for. So basically, it's so that you got something in case the flag ever has to actually fall. It says it's designed that when it falls, it will break into 13 pieces. But now I'm looking at this and it says people are disputing whether or not that's really a thing. But that's what I've always heard. So I'm going to go with it because nobody's ever told me that it's not a thing.
said there's a razor.
A razor blade, a bullet, and a match.
Okay.
You know, it's a figurative thing, whatever. But they put it in, or it's a symbolic thing. But there's only one, and I'll put it on top of the main flagpole. And I forget when it started, but you know, back in the day, probably the what do you call that thing? The American, what the hell is it called? National anthem. You know, the bombs bursting in air and all that. The whole story of that probably came from back in those days, right? Because that was a pretty famous story about that flag being held up. Well, I have an LED powered chem light thing. I've seen some of those before too. The ones I've seen were really fragile though, from like a dollar store, but they made me feel like the concept is sound. And I've seen some really strong little $1.50, like what do you call that? Watch button type of batteries. Watch battery type of lights that were basically a watch battery, an LED, and a plastic housing. Literally, that was it. And they're super strong. They're weatherproof and stuff because there's 3 or 4 parts to the thing. There's like nothing that can really go wrong with it other than it falling apart. And since it's really simple plastic, just basically one piece of plastic that holds the LED and the button battery together, and then another one that acts as like a switch by moving, you know, the part moving in between.
Find a lot of them on keychains.
Yeah, yeah. And if they put something like that into like a little diffuser tube, then boom, it's an LED light stick basically. Except it's not going to last 12 hours. It'll last as long as that little battery will last. And you could take that tube and put 3 or 4 extra clean good batteries in it, and just keep swapping them out each night, and have that little tube of batteries last you for a while, and then just change out the batteries. Buy cheap little batteries like that at a dollar store for 8 batteries, so it would last you a while. But more like a night light than a useful light. But still, I've seen them. But like I say, the ones I've seen were dollar store junk, so they were really, really cheap. But the concept seemed really strong. Like I really like the idea. Somebody should make them decent.
Well, with the technology into rechargeable batteries too, that
with the what do you call those pads where you just set a phone on now?
right.
I don't know how much that stuff costs, but if you can start to see things like that where you just set them down and that charges them, that could change the picture too. Like you don't have to plug anything in, you don't have to buy a charger, like they don't have to supply any of that. They can just supply the light, the rechargeable battery, and the little, I don't know what that's called, inductive charger. Then you can just set that on your thing whenever your phone's not charging. He says he has them hanging on a fan pull cords. That's a good idea. Have you ever stuck LED chems lights on ceiling fans? Or like
Nope.
hung them up there with cord?
No, I don't have ceiling fans.
Oh, we always
Never.
have ceiling fans out here. Every room in Arizona pretty much has a ceiling fan in it. So I've definitely, because a lot of times those things will come with a little piece of cord that you break it and then wear it like a necklace.
Mhm.
So it's real easy to stick them up on fans, and they are super neat. One, they spin around with lights, and two, they smack people in the face. So super good. You buy one through the mail. Oh, you buy them once, and if you mail the battery back, they'll replace them free for life. That's interesting. Did you watch Watchmen, or did you watch Watchmen, the series?
Me? No.
Yeah. Do you like science fiction TV shows?
Oh yeah.
Did you like what's the one where there's like a robot guy? There's a bunch of superheroes. One of them's a robot guy, and I
Oh,
think he
that.
didn't want to be a robot. And then there's like a little kid who's like the main hero, and he grows up kind of in time, where he goes to the future and blows everything up, and then he comes back to try to not blow everything up or something. Like I forget what that one was called. And it was like a group of superheroes. And they were living in some guy's house, I think. And I don't know if it was the beginning of the X-Men or something. But you know that one I'm talking about, where there's like that one guy who's like a robot guy with like a Iron Maiden T-shirt on.
Well, I know the one that you're talking about with the kids.
Kids, no, I'm talking about one of the people and the one with the robot. One of the dudes, one of the like crime fighting group is a young kid, except that it's I don't remember it all. He was a young kid and then he went to the future, I think, as a young kid, and then somehow he comes back to the past as an old guy or older, like a teenager. I don't remember. Anyway, it was like that. Like Lockjaw saying Watchmen is different, but I like it. Yeah, it's science fiction, like a really good science fiction. Like it's neat. It's like I don't know. It's not your typical uh, Marvel type of stuff.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah. Oh, in that they have a part of it, part of the plot, and you don't know why, is, or at least they haven't explained it yet, is the bad guys, I think. Well, I know they're bad guys, but I don't know if they're the right bad guys or if they're bad guys from the past. But one of the bad guys in it, they're sitting there pulling the batteries out of old watches. Yeah, that made me think of that. A 5-gallon bucket of watch batteries. All right. Well, thanks for jumping in here, but I don't want to throw it all on you either. Ghost was out there before and said that he couldn't join because he's too sleepy.
Yeah, I actually just woke up. That's why I was like, oh crap, it's midnight.
Well, if you got shit to talk about, I mean, I'm not asleep or nothing, but I do have basically been working on After Effects. So I went and grabbed a bunch of like free templates. At least this is the way I'm learning it. I grabbed a bunch of free templates, and now I'm changing things, modifying the templates, and through that, learning how After Effects works. So After Effects is what they use to make like the intros to videos where they have like maybe an explosion with like the words floating by, or like a gear turns into a bunch of dirt and then blows around, and then it becomes a pencil, or I don't know, weird shit happens, like little animated stuff happens.
Right.
It's a little software to do that. It's really just video software. It's just that it's got a couple of different tools, and
Almost like how Military Arms Channel intro, where it has the
some
piano
kind of
falling and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And some of it is like taking other pieces. I mean, it doesn't do everything. It's not Photoshop. So if you see an image, the image comes from Photoshop. If you see a 3D rendered gun or something, that came from Blender or something that renders 3D images. But when you want those things to interact with each other and do something and then move around and have words flash by, that's what the After Effects seems to do. So it's weird. It's basically like video editing software, but you're only dealing with 20 seconds. So it's sort of like tweezers. Like you're dealing with much smaller little pieces of the same concept. Just a little movie. It's just that your movie is going to last 10 or 15 seconds.
Right.
So anyway, I've been screwing around with that, and I'm more than happy to get back to doing that. I figured nobody wanted to just have me working on that while I was here, but I don't want to leave Pink have to run the whole show either. So I'm not going to keep it running all night. I want to get back to playing or figuring things out, learning, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, if there was like 6 or 8 people in here, I would just do that while y'all were talking. But we do have 13 people. I hate to shut it off when there's people listening, but if you're listening to this show, you know that it's hell or high water. Either people are here or I shut the show down. And again, like I just said, I'm not going to make Pink run the whole show tonight. Whoever it was, I forget the name, who was out there from New Mexico. I never did see it say nothing on Gun Channels, but gunchannels.com is a community. We built it about 6 years ago, and this was Michael. You want to feel free to join it. Doesn't cost nothing. Or does it cost anything to join? No, you can still get in for free, I think.
Yeah.
That probably won't last like that forever, but it is a great way to get information across to people. If you don't want to use a platform that's going to basically watch everything you do. We don't do that on Gun Channels, other than making sure people are not mean to each other. It's just a place for people to hang out. And then, if you've never been there, like I say, it's just a function. It's a way that we can send a link. So otherwise, if I have your email, I can put you in the list. But not like Matt, not everyone is welcome. I'm not just running a chat for people on the streets. But if I know who you are and you're not weird, then yeah, you're more than welcome to jump in. I am not interested in talking about news of the day. I'm not interested in about selling you guns. I'm not interested in, keeping people into purchasing just for the sake of purchasing. I certainly like Second Amendment. I certainly like guns. I certainly like history. If we want to talk about that kind of stuff, we can. And I like being up at night. I don't know why so many people go to sleep at night. It seems weird to me. There's all this daytime you could sleep during when it's boring and everybody else is at work, and stay up at night when all the fun people are awake. So hopefully we'll get this show back to getting a night crowd. Otherwise, something will happen over on Gun Channels. We'll see some night people again. Otherwise, the entire gun community will go to being, what's the word for non-nocturnal? Dayturnal or something? Like they'll just all wake up at 6 a.m. and do their thing all together, and then they'll all go to bed at 9 o'clock like they do now. Boring.
Even before that, because of the winter.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's getting cold. We better go to bed at 8:30 tonight. Let's put the kids to bed at 6 so we can all wake up at 4 a.m. Oh, here, I'm going to delete that. Don't put it in there. Number one, I'm not going to remember to go in here and email you, but email me, gunwebsites@gmail.com. Otherwise, you don't want a bunch of people in the world just emailing you either. But thanks. Let's see. So with all that said, this is the interims. It's been interims for a few months here, but I don't care. I've been doing the show for, I don't know, well over 900 episodes at this point. Once you start seeing the numbering go back into effect, that's when you know the show's back on track. We'll do something here once I got the little pieces I've been working on in that After Effects, or the pieces of the show, the transitions between one segment to another. I've been working on what segments they're on. Actually, pretty much spending most of my time working on how I want to do the Daily Gun Show, because the Daily Gun Show is designed to be the daily, what's the word, like stuff that I think is neat to touch on. There's not a lot of stuff to touch on, and you can't do it all in one show. There's no way to do it once a week. Definitely can't do it once a month. So daily's the way to go. And once I got a system here, we'll be back on it. I'm a night owl, but work dictates other. Well, you can never dictate. But yeah, I just figure in a country of 360 million people, we've already had, I don't know, years. I mean, Pink literally changed the playing field back in the day, running the show when you go to work or whatever.
Right.
And created a place. I mean, that's what even let me know that there was such a potential. Obviously, it's a little different now because we have different systems and stuff, but there's 350 million people in this country alone. We're not even a big country. Physically, we're kind of big, but population-wise, we're tiny. So there's much larger countries out there and much bigger population centers for sure. But as far as just this country, just the English-speaking people here that like guns, there's lots and lots of people. So we can find some of them that like to stay up at night and talk about guns, I imagine. Or at least we can again.
Yep, there was always crowds coming and going back in the
Well,
day. So
and like you said, it's the main thing, coming and going. I'm not about to pay people to be here. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to desperately ask people to be here, and I'm not going to create a place that people need to be here because they're going to get something out of it. So we'll continue to create a place, and the people that are worth a shit are going to show up and chat. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But we're not going to make this thing a weird, or I'm not going to make this thing a weird attempt to bring people in. So like you said, people will come around and it'll get good again, and then unfortunately it'll get slow again, and we'll continue to keep chatting. Anyway, I don't know if I'll probably just kill this one tonight. This one's not that good. But with all that said, thanks Pink for jumping in. Thanks everybody for joining, and see you tomorrow.
Yep.
Wait, what's tomorrow? Thursday. So
yeah,
I don't even know who's on anymore tomorrow. For a minute, Travis was on Thursdays. He's not doing that anymore. I would say Budget, but oh no, he is on again. He does it now. He was on early, now he's on late, and he quirks me, so he'll be quirking me tomorrow. Clover quit doing a Thursday show, so he won't be around. Yankee does his show every other week, and I don't know if this is my week or not. I'll just see if I get an email or not. And then I think Sarge said that Orange would be doing a show, so we'll see if Obnoxious does a show later on today. So there'll be some shows over on Gun Channels. Can't trust the schedule because I built that schedule a while back and things change. So one of these days, once we have another steady, I guess, couple of weeks of consistent shows, we'll go in there and update the schedule. But use that as a rough guide. And if you see people that aren't posting that you liked their show, let them know. Because just like me, everybody quits doing these things because they don't get any feedback. Nobody's doing this for the money. We're doing this because we're interested in having a conversation and I don't know other people's points of view on it, but I do not like just chatting to myself. So I do appreciate it when Pink jumps in or other people jump in, and having the people out there listening is great because this isn't just just you get to listen to what's on my mind. I want to just have a conversation with people. All right, thanks again.
Yep.
You got anything to plug?
Not offhand. I've just been busy with work, so I mean, I'm just gearing up for SHOT Show.
It's about to get busy. You ain't even done, right? You got Christmas, and then you'll have a break, I guess. All right. Well, with that, we'll say bye to everybody. See you back to pick up you later. That's some using my tagline now.